If you missed last week's episode, we made a pretty huge announcement. We bought a sailboat. And not just any sailboat, a massive custom-built steel ketch with some pretty ingenious and flat-out amazing surprises up her sleeve. So in this video, we're going to show you the ins and outs of our ultimate expedition dreamboat, starting with one of her most distinctive features, the mast.
What better place to start than the mast? She has a very unique mast at 21 meters or 68 feet. It's a tall mast for sure, and some have compared it to an electrical tower, which makes it super easy to climb when you need to do maintenance, or check the rigging, or if you just want to jump.
So for our next stop on our tour to Sylfia, we're going to be checking out her hull. Her hull is made of steel, and the majority of it is 6 millimeters thick. There are a few parts that are reinforced with a thicker 8 millimeter thickness, and some parts above the waterline are 4 millimeters thick. She has a surprisingly shallow draft of only about 2 meters, which is pretty surprising for a boat of her size. And the keel, as you can see, is a bulb or torpedo style.
Ahoy there, you salty sailors. Welcome aboard the deck of Sylfia. We are so incredibly stoked to take you for a tour of our boat because she's a really special boat. She's the most unique boat that I've ever seen, and she has so much character and heart and soul. Part of why she's so unique is because she was custom built by a Polish gentleman named Bernard, who was an innovator to say the least. And he and his family have an amazing story, and the story behind Sylfia, which we are actually going to be interviewing Bernard's son, Sylvan, who has been amazing and has been spending a bunch of time on board with us, helping us get to know the boat, helping us with projects. But we're going to show you kind of a quick version of our interview with him at the end of this video. And also, if you're super interested after seeing that first bit, we're going to post the whole interview, which is full of like crazy amazing stories of a remarkable life lived. We're going to post that full as a podcast on our website, which is expeditiondrenched.org. So just head on over there and you'll be able to check that out. Disclaimer, as we mentioned, or as you may or may not know if this is your first time watching, we are newbie sailors. We apologize in advance. Some of you guys that really know your shit out there are going to be watching this and being like, it's not called that, or it's not done that way. So we know that we have a lot to learn. Yeah. We're certainly welcome to hear your advice and input, but heads up, we're still learning a lot.
Without further ado, we're going to be doing this boat tour from bow to stern and every nook and cranny of the boat. And you want to tell us about the sails, Jordan?
Yeah, so we got 2 sails up front. We've got our Genoa, which is kind of our everyday workhorse sail, and then we've also got a jib up here, which we would use in like stronger winds if we're pointing like really high into the wind.
Also up here on the bow, you've got our giant anchor. This thing's a beast. She's about 100 kilograms. So she's a big beast, and for that you're going to need a big windlass. So what we actually have is we have this giant windlass that got a pretty crazy story. As you'll find out, a lot of things on the boat do have a crazy story.
Crazy story is an understatement. This windlass has a pretty illustrious past life. During World War II, it was actually used to hoist bombs onto U.S. fighter planes.
Over here we have our crane. That is to get giant pieces of cargo on the boat and drop them in that hatch. All right, over here to our steering wheel.
Something that I really love about this boat is that you can steer from the outside of the wheelhouse as well. I love to be able to feel the wind on my face and see the conditions and just enjoy the sunshine.
A lot of the action happens out here on a nice sunny day, so as opposed to being like confined, in the wheelhouse, you get to come out and play as well.
Let's go check out our cargo up top.
Yeah,
Should we climb on top?
Yep. Now right where I'm standing, this is where the mainsail comes out. Your mainsail is a little bit different. You want to tell them about the way we do that?
Yeah, so I was really surprised to see the setup of the mainsail. So this right here, this is the exhaust from our engine, which is down below. This is basically like a big traveler for the mainsail. You just lift this and you can slide it along the track. So if you want to adjust the angle of your sails or when you're tacking, you just slide it from side to side. And the first time I did it, I thought it would be really scary. Like, I thought that as we were tacking, it was gonna like go flying and knock me off the top, but it's actually really easy once you're doing it.
Back here, we've got all of our solar panels. Our goal is to actually double up how many solar panels we have even before we leave. So we're going to be putting maybe 4 more panels on. We're shooting for 88 gigawatts. We just got to figure out where to put the flux capacitor, and then it'll work out just fine. Just fine. Let's go back down.
I think that's
Oh, you want to talk about the water?
Oh yeah, so there's the other wonderful feature of our massive wheelhouse roof that we have here is that we can actually use this to collect water. So if you notice the shape of it, it's rounded and then there's a lip around the edge of it. And then right over here, there's actually little holes right here on both sides. And when it's raining, we have a little contraption that is a hose that hooks up onto the hole on each side, comes together into one hose, and then you just put that into the water intake. And so you're able to collect quite a bit of rainwater from up here, which is really cool because we do not have a water maker on board. Luckily, we do have a really big water tank. It's like
4,700 liters?
Yeah, 4,700 liter water tank, which goes a long way.
We're going to go ahead and head down. Let's talk about these rails, huh? Okay, something that I find to be truly unique about the boat is these rails, and actually the use of salt water and fresh water on the boat. On your port side of the rails, you've got fresh water flowing through it. On your starboard side, you've got salt water flowing through it. And you want to demonstrate that?
So there's taps on each side that you can turn on in the back, and then, yeah, so you can hook a hose up anywhere. There's like 3 points along the rail on each side, so you can hook the hose up. And let's say you just want to spray off the deck just to clean it off, it's dirty, you can use the salt water just to get everything off. But maybe you're rinsing dive gear or you want to take a shower or something, then you can use the fresh water.
Yeah, and because it's flowing through the rails, it gets solar heated, so that's really nice. It's actually really warm, so you come up from a cold dive and you got a warm dive shower.
That's definitely come in handy thus far. We've done our first dives off Sylfia this week, which was so good, and it felt so good to accomplish that, but it is winter in New Zealand, and the water was so cold. So when we came up, it felt like amazing to have like a nice hot shower when we got out of the water.
All right, should we go to the stern?
Yeah. Okay. Welcome to the back of the boat. We've got a fantastic chill zone back here with the perfect angle of recline on the chair, so you can really kick back and enjoy the beautiful view wherever you are.
Yeah. All right, we're on the swing step. And
so spacious. I love it.
It's nice. It's like a nice place where you can actually even just put a chair, you can fish off the back if you'd like, and just relax. It's a perfect diving platform. So if you want, you can like just put your, they call them bottles here in New Zealand, you can put your tank up here and like put your whole BCD on, strap it in, and then just take a couple steps, jump right off the back of the boat.
Well, without further ado, let's take them inside.
Yeah,
let's go. First stop on the inside tour is probably the thing that we got the most comments on when we posted our last video. As we mentioned last week, we have only one head on board, which is a toilet, if you don't know that much about boats.
So here is the restroom, and yeah, that's our toilet. What can I say about it? No, it's actually different for a boat. Most toilets have what's called a macerator, and that macerator is notorious for being the first thing to break down, and also the thing you definitely don't want to break down. It's
Tell
not
them what a macerator is.
Macerator chops up the goodies. It chops up the excrement, we'll say. Yeah, right? So that's what it does, and then it flushes out. We have a really large holding tank, which is the tank that holds the poo. And then when you go far offshore, you open up the holding tank. It goes out in the ocean, just like the whales do, and that's how that works. But you have a holding tank because you don't want to be dropping that in like a small anchorage.
Yeah, you'll be like swimming around in a beautiful tropical paradise, and then a turd's gonna go floating by. You definitely don't want that.
You guys had the questions about the poop on the boat? Well, there you go.
Got
That's
the
it.
answers.
You might have gotten more than you had just bargained for, right?
Yeah. And what Nate kind of didn't mention is that we don't have a macerator, and the reason that we don't exactly need one is because the toilet is very high up, and so it just uses gravity to let everything just drop down, whereas on a normal boat, that's not really as feasible.
Yeah. We just got a new washer. You want to talk about the washer?
Sounds a little sexist for the woman to talk about the washer, but I'll do it anyways. So yeah, we just got a brand new washer. They had one on board previously that didn't work anymore. And after a lot of deliberation, we decided that we did want to replace it because I think overall, you will use a lot less water. Right. Onward into the wheelhouse.
Let's talk about the table and the wood real quick.
Oh yeah, this is a good story.
While Jordan's looking that up info, I'm going to talk about the kitchen really quick. This is a stovetop and an oven that is on like a gimbal. We had a friend come on board and they were just thrilled by that. I know that sailors know that, but just remember, not everybody that watches is a sailor. So it's pretty cool. Like while you're under sail, just stuff can be hitting the fan, and you can still be making yourself a cup of noodles or a hot tea, and it's not going to go flying off, which is really nice. But
tell them about the taps.
Oh,
this is so cool. You guys are going to love this.
Yeah, back to what we were saying before about Bernard's use of salt water on the boat. This tap is salt water. You can go to your heart's content on that, and this is your fresh water. So we're going to use the salt water as much as we possibly can. So it's nice to like clean your dishes and stuff with the salt water, and then just give it a nice little last rinse.
Okay, I'm ready to tell them about the table.
All right.
Okay, so this table, as well as the countertop and the captain's chair, is made out of a wood that's called swamp kauri, and I pulled it up on my phone to read to you about it because it's so cool, and my mind was completely blown when I learned about this. So I wanted to make sure I got all the facts right to share with you, so I'm just going to read this to you from Wikipedia. Swamp kauri, sometimes marketed as ancient kauri, are prehistoric kauri trees buried and preserved in peat up to 50,000 years ago in New Zealand's North Island. Buried under a peat swamp by an unexplained act of nature at the end of the last ice age, the trees have survived centuries underground, sealed in a chemically balanced environment that has preserved the timber in perfect condition. The trees grew for nearly 2,000 years before they were buried. Some have a girth of around 40 feet and a total height of nearly 200 feet. So that's
ancient
cool.
wood.
We've got an ancient table that we eat our beans and rice off of.
Tree? I am no tree.
I think that's so cool, and it's just, as we mentioned before, it's one of the many little crazy details that make the boat really special. Yeah. I love that about her.
Here we've got. Here's the captain's chair.
Look at this. I'm going to show you how good it feels to be in this bad boy. It's got the good lean on it. Mm-hmm. It's got just the right length that you can steer with your foot when you need to. Mm-hmm. And it's got, I don't know if you can see in this lighting, but it's very ergonomically designed, and it's got little butt grooves where your butt cheeks fit right in, and the shape of it is, you look at it and you don't think it would be that comfortable, but it's actually, it fits your body like a glove. Yes.
Over here we've got an old-timey steering wheel, which I absolutely love, our pirate ship steering wheel. Yeah. Just kind of gives the essence of Sylfia, if you will. Up here we've got a map. What this is Bernard's map of the different areas he's sailed to. He built 6 boats in his life, and this is the 6th one. The first one was the gnarly...
It's like Sharni Diamond. No, do you know the story behind it? We'll get the full details later.
From Sylvan.
But I do want to just give you a teaser to make you know why you should listen to the podcast. So, for example, I'm probably saying this wrong, but it's like Sharni Diamante or something means black diamond in Polish. And they actually built the first boat in a coal mine in Poland. And then they transported it via train and all this stuff to get it out to the sea. And so I don't know. I just didn't want to give you.
It's
we
a
keep
crazy
saying,
story.
we keep saying, oh, you want to listen to this podcast, but
Crazy
I think
story.
you need to know that it's really cool, and you should definitely check it out.
My mom made this.
Thanks, Mom.
Arts and crafts.
Sylfia. And then on the back it says, Nate and Jordan, the adventure begins. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. You're gonna meet my mom. She's coming out, and she'll be coming out from time to time. She's the most beautiful, amazing woman. You're really gonna love her.
She's a gem.
My grandma gave me this. She just turned 94 yesterday.
95. Yeah.
95 yesterday. I lived with my grandma in Oahu through high school, and this is Chinaman's hat, which was like our backyard. And when we left, she gave me this postcard. She loves me.
She loves you.
All right,
Let's
should
go
we?
downstairs. This is where a lot of the action's going to be going on. Okay. Alright, first things first, you guys. And it is this piano that's sitting right here. So I never thought I'd own a sailboat that has a piano on it. And that feels pretty good.
The piano has got a story, like everything on this boat has a story. And this piano was Governor Gray's piano. So he was an old governor of New Zealand, and it came over on his
Like
boat.
from England, I think, right?
Yeah, from England. And it's from like late 1800s. So he was the governor in the late 1800s.
Yeah. He died. We tried to find a little bit more information on this story, and we couldn't. And the kids, Keldan and Sylfia, don't know the exact details of it. But we looked up. What we did find out about Governor Gray is he passed away in like 1898 or something. So presumably this piano came over sometime during like mid to late 1800s.
So this is a ship's piano. It's over 100 years old.
Yeah.
It still plays. And I think the story goes, 'cause I don't think Bernard even plays the piano, but his friend had a piano on his boat, and you know how it is. So he had to get a bigger,
like,
better,
"I'm
better piano with a
piano."
story. So they got this down here.
Show us your piano skills. What you got?
I think I got a song.
Okay.
Let's see. All right. That's all I had. That takes us to the rest of the room.
So big. So much room for activities in here. You get the jumping jack.
So we got 11 bunks that I think we mentioned last week that we're going to be filling up with our awesome crew.
Yeah, we got hammocks on top, and then, regular mattresses.
Is that a regular mattress?
Well, this one in particular is not really. It's like a weird plastic wet-the-bed mattress. So our intention for the beds is we're going to build out so that the beds are on a little kind of hydraulic thing where you can easily lift it up and then have all your storage underneath. And then these hammocks we're going to build into like proper beds, more like this one.
And then over
Cracking it
here,
out. Welcome to our bed. That didn't sound as comfortable as it felt.
it's pretty cool.
Look at how big our bed is. This is crazy.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about the bed is that when you're sailing, the boat is typically, rolling more from side to side. And so if you're sleeping normal in the bed, like this way, you're kind of like rolling around from side to side. But our bed is so big that I've discovered that if you wanted to, you could actually just sleep this way, across it. And then now when you're rolling, you won't be actually like rolling around side to side. So I think that's pretty cool.
There's Jordan's shark onesie.
This is my shark onesie, which you're going to see a lot because it's pretty cold in New Zealand. And this is my favorite post-dive garb. So I get all bundled up in my shark onesie. And at night, I'm pretty much rolling around in this guy for the most part because it keeps me so cozy. And then my furry boots, and I'm good to go.
All right, we're going to come right into... Jordan, you want to tell them about the engine, and I'll tell them about the machine?
Yeah, well, as we mentioned before, we are certainly no experts, so I'm sure there's a lot more that could be told about this engine, but we're learning it as we go. But this is a Gardner engine. It's diesel, obviously, and Gardners are really known for having like longevity and being super durable and just running and running and running for years and years and years.
Every old salt that we've met, that we tell that we've got a Gardner engine, loses their mind.
They're like, whoa, oh my god, that's so cool. Yeah, so this is, as we showed you before, the stacks. This is where the exhaust vents up to the top, and then it's actually freshwater cooled. Other things that we have planned. One of our biggest endeavors and most important endeavors and projects is we want to be able to run an electric dive compressor. And in order to do that, normally you would have just like a really, really big, super expensive generator. And we looked at generators that we would need to run a compressor, and they're like $15,000 to $20,000, which is not
a little
really,
bit out of our budget. Right?
Yeah, and so we've been working with Sylvan to come up with some creative alternatives of ways that we could do it, and our current plan is we're going to replace the alternator with a 175 amp alternator, and then we're going to be purchasing a new inverter, which is really big, and it's like 4 kilowatts that peaks up to like 8 kilowatts.
88 gigawatts!
Yeah, because the dive compressor takes like this huge burst of power to get started, and that's why you normally can't run it off like regular systems like that.
This is a full-on machine shop. What we've got in here is we've got a lathe, okay, we've got a drill press,
There's a welder
over here, and we've got a vise over here, and we've got tools for days, and we've got any kind of thing that a tinkerer would just die for. Let's go to
the electric room.
the Love Shack.
AKA the Love Shack. Okay. Alright, you gotta be 18 and over to watch this next part of the video.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding. Welcome to the Love Shack! Love Shack, baby!
This is our electrical room.
/
And-
baby making room.
Yeah. What we've decided is that this cabin is never going to have crew in it. Nobody gets to claim this cabin, and why that is we have a lot of couples on board, we got a lot of singles on board, and privacy is minimal, for sure. Nice. We're going to put a disco ball up in here, we're going to put a loud radio, and
Marvin Gaye on repeat.
Marvin Gaye on repeat.
But, well, I'll show them also what's actually in here in the electrical room.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 inverters, which is cool. And if you're running any of the bigger equipment, like the lathe and stuff, we've got a bigger inverter as well, which we'll probably be replacing with an even bigger inverter in order to run the dive compressor.
If you think we're done, we're not done. We got a whole nother cabin to show you. So, thanks for sticking around this long. I'll just here we go. Back up.
Okay, the home stretch.
Almost there.
Here we go, you guys.
Down here we've got Dee's cabin. That's my mom, and you guys are gonna love her. Yeah, it's a queen size bed with a single over here. Right now we've got all of our dive equipment down here.
I think that pretty much covers this downstairs area here. Shall we return upstairs?
Yeah.
So that pretty much covers the ins and the outs of Sylfia. I think now we're going to share with you a little bit of our interview with Sylvan to give you an idea of kind of her history and her story, because it's a really beautiful story.
Without further ado, Sylvan.
Hello, everyone. Let's start with your dad. Let's start with Bernard, if that's okay. He was born in Poland?
Yeah, born in Poland. In Żory, which is next to Katowice,
Okay.
which is more in the southern side, a long way from the sea.
A long way from the
Nothing
sea.
to do with the sea. It's a coal mining town.
So how did he get it in his mind that he wanted to start sailing?
Well, he travelled a lot. He travelled all around Europe in a caravan behind a car and whatnot, and he loved travelling. And he just came to the point that sailing and living on a boat was the way to do it as a lifestyle. To be able to just sail around with your home and have all your stuff and go discover the whole, more than Europe, the world really.
Had he ever sailed before?
No, not really. He done like a few on a fishing boat and like a couple little crossings.
Okay.
And yeah, so he met these. He came in. The hull was already built, but it was kind of stagnant because it was communist time. No one was allowed to really leave the country as such, and they needed a lot of parts for the boat. So Dad got involved with these other guys, and yeah, they finished the boat.
So they built the boat from the ground up.
Yep. Yeah, in a coal mine shed, in
In that same town, far
Yeah.
from the ocean.
Yes. It went on a truck, and then on a train, transferred to a train, and then they took it all across the country, and then they went to a river and then pulled it through the river.
Yeah.
And it's still sailing around today.
Is it?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I know that they made a fake boat club name.
Okay.
So because they weren't allowed to leave with this, so they made us that.
Because of the government at the time, you couldn't leave.
Yeah. So they falsified a bunch of papers, and then they just pretty much were like, oh yes, we've got part of this boat club for Poland, and then they just sailed off.
So now they're cruising. Somewhere along the line, they hit the Red Sea. And what happened to the Red Sea?
It wasn't when they had the reef.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that because they didn't really know much about sailing. They, they had a lot of sketchy stuff going on and
Sounds
whatnot.
familiar.
Yeah.
I'm not judging.
But probably a lot worse, really, because you didn't have all the navigation stuff and whatnot, and they didn't even. I think they said at the beginning they didn't even tie up the anchor, and they just freaking, they didn't really know what they're doing. So anyway, they ended up on the reef badly. I think it was in the Red Sea, yeah. And most of the crew left. They all left, and it was 2 guys, and they stayed there for, I think it was 3 months. They lived on fish pretty much, and the boat was on the hard pretty much the whole time.
Yeah.
And they built a channel with just a cold chisel, which is a big steel chisel, and a hammer.
Yeah.
And just for the keel, so it wasn't a full channel, but they built, for 300 odd meters, this channel that they could float their boat out.
So they hit the reef
How
so
would
hard.
they do that though? So they would just free dive down and chisel away, and then come back up, catch their breath, and then chisel away for months and months.
But I mean, you think that's completely mad, but then that's all they had.
Yeah.
It's not like and that's all they wanted to do.
Yeah.
So 3 months, it takes years to build a boat. So I think they kind of must have been facing either we don't have a boat, or we frickin' dig our way out,
They went around the whole world.
And more,
Yeah, they didn't just circumnavigate the world. They backtracked and went this way and that way and every which way in between.
Fast forward through building 4 more boats under equally daring and insane circumstances, meeting his wife, endless adventures around the globe, starting a family, settling down in New Zealand, and Bernard eventually began work on Sylfia, which comes from combining the names of his 2 children, Sylvain and Sylfia.
What was his plans for Sylfia at the time that he started building her?
His retirement boat.
Yeah.
That's why it's got a bigger wheelhouse. It's got a big chair. It's got a bigger landing deck. Had a fireplace in it. I helped him do the plating. I used to do weekends and after school and.
You were 12 to 14.
Yeah. I was right up until I was 18, really.
Yeah.
From 14 to 18. And that was fun. I learned a lot.
After years of work and love, Sylfia made her grand entrance into the water for the very first time.
So the tide's low. You go down. You put the boat on the ramp, and then you wait for the tide to come up. Yeah. And it's high tide, and the boat there was not enough water for it. So I went diving.
Yeah.
And we tried to tie a rope around the block and pull it out of a motorboat.
Yeah.
And I had just got out, and they decided to give it a push with the truck.
Yeah.
Back into they backed the truck just to give it a little nudge of a block.
Yeah.
And it was already on its cradle, and they just hit it with a cut, and the whole thing went from being, and it had all this momentum because it was out of the water, and there was no one on board, and it just went flying across the river. Yeah. It was a weird thing to see a boat, this size, 80 foot, and it's going honking across across the river, and it hit a big kahuta tree, and it kind of hit it, and then sprung forward, and everyone sprung on after it, and then.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That was Sylfia's grand entrance into the world.
Boom!
She was born into adventure and chaos.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
like it.
I like it.
Yeah.
So, boats here, doing the thing, and, skip over parts for sure. But I will say though that, you know, when I first read the story, because it is on their website, Sylfia.org. I don't know when it happened, but I know your dad did go missing here in the Bay of Islands several years ago. And all I know is that pretty much every boat here was out looking for him.
Yeah. You know, Dad disappeared. It's about 7 years ago. So, well, it was May the 20th. So it's coming up soon.
Wow.
So he went out on the tender on the Mac there, and was lost at sea. No one really knows what happened exactly. We know that we found the boat with the pull cord pulled out, the painter was in, so it's not like the dinghy just drifted off. I think he hit his head and went over the side, but we don't really know, you know. So, and it doesn't really matter, you know, the thing is just gone, and that's the way it is. But what was special for us was having all these people and that took time out of their lives. They put in resources, and we had a massive operation up at that. We had a good friend of his, Rico, and Marina, that put up their house, and they had a big operations, and you know, we had the charts out, we searched all the islands, we had people going there, check, yep, this part's done, this one's done, you know, the helicopter being up for that long, you know, and that was very supportive for us and very cool, you know, and I mean, it was a very special time in the bay. It was you know, this time of year going into winter, and it was like flat calm up there. It was dolphins, you know, we saw manta rays, and we saw, like, you know, all this wildlife and stuff out there that like, you know, you could say whatever, but it was pretty crazy that it was 5 days of perfect weather. And you know, so we just kept searching, and people, I'm sure some people thought that he wouldn't, you know, given up hope, but they searched for us, you know. They searched, and it made it easier for us, is that we had 5 days to process, like, oh, you know, okay, one more day, oh, we're losing hope, less likely, and then, you know, then you accept it, you know. But that time that everyone was together, you know, and all the family and stuff was pretty special. And you know, some people spend years on a deathbed, and you know, and it can be such a painstaking thing. And this, you know, at least he was gone, he was in the sea, where he loved and stuff, and that everyone to their own peace. But that's definitely where I find my peace. And
we're gonna make Bernard proud.
Yeah.
As well,
I mean, what's the worst that can happen? This boat was 3 months on a reef. We saw it like a few years ago, and the hull is like it's got all the supports, and the plating's like all bent, and just like mangled because but it's still sailing around the world, you know. It's still fine, you know. Like,
okay.
You got a steel boat. I mean, you got second chance, fourth chances, you know.
Bacchus got anything else?
Yeah.
No.
I think that's pretty good.
All right.
I learned a lot.
Yeah.
It's an incredible story of a remarkable life lived, for sure.
Yeah, he definitely had some stories.
Yeah.
They did some pretty amazing stuff back in those days, and yeah, like I said, go out, have fun, do it, you know, as you've been doing, but now on your own boat, you know, and that's gonna be cool.
The legend lives on. So now you guys know the legend, and thank you again, buddy.
Alright,
It's been
cool.
awesome. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed our tour of our floating home. Yeah?
Our rambling tour.
Yeah.
But we're so excited, and there's so much that we're excited about, and we wanted to share it with you guys, so I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah. So a couple things we want to point out is one, I want to say thank you. We've had a huge influx of support and all sorts of advice and a lot of people,
encouragement, and like kindness and positivity.
Yeah,
so thank you.
It was really overwhelming.
Yeah.
Two, you know, you don't have to just follow along the journey. We actually want to meet up, and I mentioned some meetups last time, and we have decided, because we had no idea so many Kiwis watched the show, and we've had so many emails from Kiwis and just people commenting. And also, the boat's a legend in these parts. So if you are from New Zealand, in New Zealand, or coming to New Zealand, or you just want to come, we've decided that we're actually going to do a kind of like a send-off party. The date of that is to be determined at the moment, but it is going to be early to mid-June. And if you go to our website, once again, expeditiondrenched.org, you're going to see that meetup tab, and we put information for that meetup. And if we get enough people interested, we think that we might actually go dive 4 nights with a dive company that we know over there. So if you can't make it to that one, that's cool. We've got Fiji coming up in September. We've decided on the last week of September, so that information is also on the website for you to check out as well.
Yeah, I feel like that is a wrap for the boat tour. Next week, our next video is going to be like a proper episode. So these last 2 ones have been kind of like announcement and boat tour, but we're going to be starting in on our regular episodes on the next one. And that's going to be like us arriving to New Zealand and arriving to the boat and diving Poor Knights Island, which was fantastic. It was so good. So that'll be our first kind of episode, and then we'll have a few more episodes getting the boat ready and all the prep and the lead up and our new crew arriving, and then our what we're calling our season premiere, which will be July 1st, and that's going to be us leaving for Tonga and setting sail across the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, so put that in your calendar, July 1st.
As we mentioned earlier, if you want to hear like the full-on extended version of our interview with Sylvain, we'll be posting that in podcast form on our website as well. And I think that should do it for today.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. So
thanks for sticking with us to the end, and yeah, we hope you enjoyed getting to know our new home.
All right, we'll see you next week, guys.
Bye.